Do you have some little baby quail that just came out of the incubator and you're wondering, what do I feed these little tiny guys? Well, that's what's coming up in today's video, so stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to another Slightly Redneck video. Again, my name is Chris. If you're not familiar with this channel, I help you to produce your own meat, eggs, and vegetables from your backyard, your balcony, your deck, your garage, or heck, even a spare room in your house if that's the way you want to do it. Today I'm going to talk about what to feed your baby quail when they first come out of the incubator. I get a lot of questions about this from viewers and in Facebook groups. Everybody wants to know, do you have to grind up your feed? What kind of feed do you use for them? All those questions I'm going to get answered for you, and it's actually a very simple answer. Let me grab the feed that I'm feeding my babies and we'll go into detail on that. Alright, so you might be able to see behind me here, this is my brooder box right here. I've got some 1 week old baby quail in there, which I'll take you in and show you a closer look at those guys here in just a minute. But from the time they come out of the egg, they are way smaller than that. But this is the feed that I feed them. And I feed all my birds, from babies all the way up to adults, this feed right here. This is a game bird starter. Let me get some out in my hand here. Hopefully the camera will focus on that well enough you'll be able to see it. And you can see it's a crumb, so it's pretty small pieces there, but there's also some bigger chunks in there. So I know most people's concern is, do you need to grind this feed up? And I'm often asked, how long do you have to grind it up? You don't have to grind it up at all. You just dump this in the feeder, put your babies in there, they will go right to it and start eating it right away. Now they may miss some of these bigger chunks, like you get some pieces in here, oh, like that right there. Pretty good size chunk of food right there. They might miss that for the first day or two, but honestly, those guys double in size pretty much every day for the first two weeks. So they get to that. If they don't get it in the first day or two, they'll get to it eventually and eat that too just fine. No reason to have to grind all this food up. I usually, they'll eat almost every single piece of this within the first couple of days before I have to refill the feeder again. So it's really no concern with the babies not being able to eat the feed. I know lots of people are concerned about that. No issue whatsoever. All right, now as far as the nutritional requirements go of your baby quail, it's really not that much different than the adult quail. Just whatever kind of game bird starter you can find, or if you can't find game bird starter, look for turkey starter. You might also be able to find a chicken starter. Try to stay away from medicated feeds, of course. Especially if you plan on eating the birds, you really need them to be off medicated feeds for about 30 days before you eat any of the eggs or the birds themselves. These guys are way too young to be eating, or to be eating, they're not even producing eggs yet. But still, it's best to not even give them medicated feed, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. The specifics of that, what you're looking for, just look for the label on your feed and look at the nutritional requirements. Yeah, there we go. The guaranteed analysis on the label. I don't know if you can read this on camera or not, but the top things you're looking for are the protein levels, and you want something at least 25% or higher. I'm using a 28% protein food right now. You want the calcium level to be at least about 1.5%. So as long as you're like 1.5 to 2%, somewhere right around in there, that's going to be fine. And this protein is, let's see, guaranteed minimum calcium is 1.5%. So that's perfectly fine. That's right within the range I want. Somewhere between 1.5 to 2.5 average calcium in the feed, and the high protein. And then everything else you don't really need to worry about too much. If it's called a game bird starter, a turkey starter, or a chicken starter, as long as it's got those protein levels and that calcium amount, it's going to be perfectly fine for all of your birds. I don't switch my birds from a starter to a layer or to a maintainer or any of that kind of stuff. It's game bird starter, the exact same feed from the time they come out of the egg for the rest of their lives. That's the exact same food that I feed them. Let me bring you in close. We'll show you the babies that I've got in the brooder box right now. All right, so this may be kind of hard to see on camera, but you can see I've got about 45 babies in there right now. And this is the feeder that I use right here. It's just a basic chicken feeder. It doesn't work well for the adults, but it works great for the babies. They'll just climb right inside there and just eat that feed. And you can see they're going right on it. It doesn't bother them a bit. There's still some pretty big chunks left in the feeder right there, but they'll get all those cleaned up. They won't have a problem. They'll break them up and they'll eat them. And there they go. That's pretty much all they do for the first couple of weeks of their life, is just sit around, eat, drink, and make a mess in the brooder box. But anyway, you can see no problems with them eating those. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but the ones back in the back there are getting the bigger chunks now and eating those down. So obviously no need to grind this stuff up. It works just fine the way it is right out of the bag. All right, I know, because every time this question gets asked, somebody talks about having to grind your feed up for the first couple of weeks. So I know somebody's going to leave in the comments section that you need to grind your feed up. Let me just say, if you want to grind your feed, go right ahead. There's no reason, no problem with that. It's not going to cause any issues with your birds. They'll eat it whether it's ground up or not. But in my opinion, it's extra work that's really not necessary. They eat it fine, just straight out of the bag. And as far as how much to feed them, just keep the feeders full. You don't have to worry about them overeating or anything like that. Just fill it up when it's empty and keep it full all the time, and they're going to do just fine. One other question I often get is about teaching the birds where the food is, or you'll see comments about people telling them that, put them by the food, make sure they know where the food is, make sure they know where the water is. Not necessary at all. These guys are pretty self-sufficient. Whenever you put the feed in the brooder box, put the water in the brooder box, and when you add the birds to it, that's pretty much all that's on their mind. I mean, they're just running around the brooder box looking, okay, what can I eat, what can I drink? And they're going to find it on their own just almost instantaneously. No reason you have to worry about training them or teaching them where the water is or anything like that. I will say something is that make sure that, I don't know if you saw my waterer in there, but it's got a pretty narrow trough on it. It's specifically made for chicks. It's a mason jar waterer that goes on the little red base on it, but it's got a very narrow trough. It's only about that wide. So the birds can't actually get in the water. If you have a wider base on that where the birds could get in it, fill it with marbles or something like that so they don't fall in there. You're not so much worried about them drowning. What you're worried about is they get in there, get wet, and then they get chilled and they die from that. So you do want to prevent them from falling in the water and getting soaking wet or anything like that. You only really need to do that for about the first 2 weeks or the first week and a half really. Once you get past that, it's really not much of an issue. You don't have to worry about it anymore. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it cleared a few things up for you guys. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what kinds of things you'd like to see in future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, God bless.